Hello, I am Latoya Rivers and I bring you greetings from the Hampton chapter of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. In partnership with the Hampton History Museum, I present to you the award-winning Living Black Wax Museum with this year's theme of Black to the Future. Please watch as our children highlight notable African Americans of the past who have paved the way for those in the present and those that continue to shape the future. We hope you enjoy their presentation.
Hey folks, my name is Steve Prince and I'm the Director of Engagement and Distinguished Artist in Resident at the Muscarella Museum at William & Mary. Hey, it is both a privilege and an honor to be a part of the 2022 Living Black Wax Museum. You know, as I reflect back upon myself becoming an artist, I think about one of the artists that stood out to me was a woman by the name of Elizabeth Catlett. You see, she did a process called linoleum cuts. And it's a process by which she worked with a floor tile-like material, make a drawing on the surface of it, and use special cutting tools to cut into the negative space around the positive lines. And after you've done all that cutting, you roll this whole thing up with ink, put paper on top, run it through a press under hundreds and thousands of pounds of pressure, and pull the paper back, and you get what is called a linoleum print. Now, you see, one of the pieces that I love by Elizabeth Catlett is this piece called Sharecropper. It shows a woman, just strong in dignity and beauty that's expressed by her being as her head is upturned and the hat is atop her head. And the simplicity of a safety pin holding the top of her clothing is just so beautiful and eloquent. I was inspired by her work and I began to create my own artwork that's began to speak of the stories of the past. And one of those stories that I share with you is an image called Read In, which is of 6 African American men who went into a library in 1939 at a space that they were denied to be able to go in as black people. And they went there and they pulled out the books. They pulled out the King James Bible. Or they pulled Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington. They pulled out The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison and Sula by Toni Morrison. And they went into that space and they said, no, we have the ability to do all these things. Not only to read these books, but we have the ability to make these books. And I put a B at the very bottom of the composition as a reminder of the diligence that we must do today to fight against these injustices that try to say that you can't, but also to say that you can. And I leave you with another piece that I created called the Living Epistle. You see, by definition, epistle means a letter that one would write to another person. But this woman is a living epistle, as I believe each and every one of us is a living epistle. Because across her body it says, I am a living epistle written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not in tables of stone, but in the fleshy tables of the heart. It is my belief, my brothers and sisters, that each and every one of us is a living epistle. So continue to use the arts, your creativity, your imagination. Use your lives as that spark to be a light in the face of darkness. Peace be with you.
I am Chloe Anthony Warford Morrison, better known as Toni Morrison. I was born on February 18, 1931 in Lorain, Ohio. I was raised in a semi-integrated area where racial discrimination was a constant threat. At 12 years old, I turned my attention to my studies and became an avid reader. I was able to use my intellect on the debate team, my school's yearbook staff, and eventually as secretary to the librarian of our public library. In 1949, I attended Howard University, where I experienced racial segregation in a new way. I witnessed how people were racially divided based on their skin tone. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in English and later earned the Master of Arts in English in 1955. I then began teaching English at Texas Southern University and then at Howard University for 7 years. I moved to New York to work for Random House Publishing as an editor. 39 years later, I published my first novel called The Bluest Eye. After my third novel, everyone knew my name, and so I decided to become a full-time writer. In 1987, I wrote Beloved, based on the true story of an African-American enslaved woman, which became bestseller and won countless awards, including the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. In 1993, I became the first Black woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. In 1998, my book became a movie co-produced by Oprah Winfrey. My work and success inspired a generation of Black women writers to follow in my footsteps, like Angie Thomas, who is most known for her book, The Hate U Give, which developed into a well-popular movie in 2018. Sadly, at the Montefiore Medical Center in New York City on August 5th, 2019, I died of pneumonia complications. Still today, I inspired little Black girls everywhere to write a story that says something, one that matters. I am Toni Morrison.
Hello, I am Tyler Perry. I am a creative entrepreneur and an award-winning actor, writer, director, and producer. I was born in New Orleans in 1969. I had a rough childhood, but my mother took me to church once a week, so I found peace. I dropped out of high school and was once homeless in my early 20s. I watched the Oprah Winfrey Show and learned that writing can support my mental health. I was inspired to write every day and eventually wrote my first play. This was the beginning of my success. I toured the U.S. presenting my plays to sold-out crowds. Then I wrote and directed my own movies. Have you ever seen The Family That Prays and Good Deeds? I created my own TV show and eventually had a small part in a Star Trek movie. However, many of you know me because I created a character that became the star in much of my work. She goes by the name Medea. I am a humanitarian and a businessman. I own over 300 acres in Atlanta where I built my film studio and created over 400 jobs. In 2020, I became a billionaire. I am Tyler Perry.
Michael Jordan, also known by his initials NJ, is 6'6". He was born February 17, 1963 in Brooklyn, New York. His first wife was Juanita Vinoy, and his second wife is Yvette Prieto. His kids with his first wife are grown, but his present-day kids are young. He is now owner of the Charlotte Hornets, and his net worth is $1.6 billion in 2022. Bye. LeBron James is 6'9" and has been traded to 3 teams in the NBA. Some facts about LeBron is that in high school he played football for 2 seasons as wide receiver. He has 3 kids, Bronny, Bryson, Shuri James. His middle name is Raymond. He is married to Savannah James. He has made $41 million in 2022. His birthday is December 30th, 1984, and I'm now 37. I'm LeBron James.
name is Naomi Osaka. I was born October 16, 1997 in Osaka, Japan to a Haitian father and a Japanese mother. Ever since the age 3, I have trained in the U.S., mainly coached by my father. Growing up, I did virtual school and was homeschooled to accommodate my intense training schedule. I became a professional tennis player in September 2013 and hit the spotlight at age 16 when defeating former U.S. Open champion Samantha Stosur. I entered the top 50 in WTA rankings in 2016. My major breakthrough was in 2019 when I won my first WTA title at the Indian Wells Open and beat 23-time Grand Slam champion Serena Williams. At that moment, I became the first Japanese player to ever win a Grand Slam title. In 2020, I became the highest earning female athlete of all time and one of the world's most marketable athletes. I am a leading activist in professional tennis, supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and protesting police brutality. As a Black woman in America playing a white-dominated sport, I am grateful for those who came before me, such as Althea Gibson. Hi, my name is Althea Gibson. I was born August 25, 1927 in Clarendon County, South Carolina. As a kid, I didn't like school, but I loved sports, especially ping pong. I was introduced to tennis at age 14 and caught on quickly. After just a year of playing, I won my first sponsored tournament. It was a tournament sponsored by the American Tennis Association, a Black organization that worked to expose Black people to tennis due to the fact that tennis was a segregated sport in America back then. The major turning point in my career was in 1950 when tennis star Alice Mabel criticized their sport for not letting me play in the world's best tournaments. This influenced me being the first African American invited to play at the Wimbledon. In 1956, all my hard work paid off and I won the French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open. Throughout my career, I won 11 Grand Slam tournaments and retired in 1968 at age 39. I died September 28, 2003 due to respiratory failure. I am Althea Gibson.
Hi, my name is Eldrick Woods, but the world knows me as Tiger Woods. I stand on the shoulders of Charlie Sifford, the first African American to play on the PGA Tour. I was born on December 30th, 1975 in Cypress, California. I hit my first golf ball in my dad's garage before I was even 1 year old. My dad coached me during my early years and influenced my life until today. As a child, I won 3 straight U.S. amateur titles. I was the youngest Masters champion ever at 21 years old. 2 years later, I won the U.S. Open, British Open, and the PGA Championship. In 2001, I won the Masters and became the only person to ever hold all 4 professional golf major titles at one time. My legacy is strong. My success includes 107 worldwide wins, 82 PGA Tour victories, and 15 majors. People say that I am the best to ever play the game of golf. I am also an entrepreneur and a proud father. In fact, I'm paving the way for my son, Charlie. I am Tiger Woods.
I am the first female vice president, woman of color, and highest-ranking female official in U.S. history, as well as being the first African American and first Asian American woman. A member of the Democratic Party, I served as the Attorney General of California from 2011 to 2017 and as a United States Senator from 2017 to 2021. I attended Howard University and the University of California for law school, and I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am known for questioning the Trump administration officials during Senate hearings, including Trump's second Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, who was accused of sexual assault. In 2005, I was awarded the Thurgood Marshall Award and the 20 of America's Most Powerful Women. In 2013, 2020, and 2021 Times annual list of 100 most influential people.
Elijah McCoy, one of the two most influential black inventors of the 19th century, was born on May 2, 1843 in Canada. When McCoy was 15 years old, he was sent to a boarding school in Scotland to study mechanical engineering. Elijah became interested in the challenges of self-lubrication for machines and began to test various ideas for automatic lubrication. If it were not for Elijah McCoy, then there would not be a Mark Dean. Computer scientist and engineer Dr. Mark Dean helped develop a number of landmark technologies for IBM, including the color PC monitor and the first gigahertz chip. He holds 3 of the company's original 9 patents.
Hello, I am Mahalia Jackson, an American gospel singer, one of the greatest singers of the 20th century. I was best known as the Queen of Gospel Music. In my 40 years of singing the gospel, I was honored for the spread of gospel blues and black churches. I was the first gospel recording artist to tour Europe, and I also sang the national anthem at President John F. Kennedy's inaugural ball and played an important part in the civil rights movement. I'm known for Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. How I got over, you know my soul. Look back and wonder how I made it over. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? American singer Jill Scott with her golden lyrics and smile stands on my shoulders. I am Mahalia Jackson.
Mary Eliza Aponi. She was the first black nurse. She made it possible for Dr. Green to become the first black woman to earn her PhD in physics.
Hello, I'm Janelle Monáe. You might know me as a famous actress and singer, but there is more to how my story started. I was born on December 1st, 1985 in Kansas City, Missouri. My mother was a janitor and my dad was a garbage truck driver. At a very young age, I sung in my church's choir and even starred in local productions of musicals like The Wiz and Cinderella. I also love to write. I joined the Kansas City Young Playwrights Roundtable Theater, where I wrote many plays and musicals. I received a scholarship to study musical theater at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City. I was the only black woman in my class. However, my time at the academy was cut short. I decided to leave the academy because I felt held back from my creativity. I wanted to write my own musicals. I didn't want to live through a character that had been played thousands of times. After I left the academy, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I self-produced a demo CD entitled Janelle Monáe, The Audition. I toured local colleges to perform and promote my music. I got my big break in 2005 when I performed Roberta Flack's Killing Me Softly with his song at an open mic night. Big Boy from the group Outkast in the audience and was so impressed with my performance that he decided to feature me on two of his tracks, Time Will Reveal and Letting Go. In 2010, I released my debut album that made it to number 17 on the Billboard US album chart and featured the singles Cold War and Tightrope. I became a rising R&B star. Even President Barack Obama had several of my songs on his playlist. After the release of my debut album, I received 2 Grammy nominations. In 2013, I released my second album. It was called The Electric Lady, which also received excellent reviews. The album hit number 5 on the Billboard Top 200. In 2014, I voiced a character for the anime featured Rio 2, then appeared in the flesh in the movie Moonlight. In 2018, I got a big role playing Mary Jackson in a movie, Hidden Figures. As I look back on my life and my accomplishments, I can't help to think but the words from the late great singer, songwriter, musician, and civil rights activist Nina Simone. I am Janelle Monáe. I am young, gifted, and black.
I am Jerry Kraft, born in January 22nd, 1963, an American cartoonist and children's book illustrator, best known for my syndicated newspaper comic strip Mama's Boys and his graphic novel New Kid. I am one of only a handful of syndicated African Americans cartoonists in the U.S. On January 22nd, 2020, my graphic novel New Kid was awarded the Newbery Medal, and I became the person to receive the honor for a graphic novel. New Kid won the Coretta Scott King Author Award and the Kirkus Prize. Orrin Cromwell Evans paved the way when, in 1948, he published All Negro Comics, the first known comics magazine written and drawn solely by African American writers and artists.
I am James Vanderzee. I was born in Lenox, Massachusetts on June 29, 1886. I demonstrated at an early age a gift for music and initially aspired to become a professional violinist. My second interest was in photography. I bought my first camera when I was a teenager and improvised a darkroom in my parents' home. I took hundreds of photographs of my family as well as my hometown of Lenox and was one of the first people to provide an early documentation of my community life in a small town in New England. In 1906, I moved with my father and brother to Harlem in New York City, where I worked as a waiter and elevator operator. By this time, I was a skilled pianist and aspiring professional violinist. I became the primary creator and one of the first 5 performers in a group known as the Harlem Orchestra. In March 1907, I married Kate L. Brown and we moved back to Lenox to have our daughter Rachel. Soon after, we moved to the Phoebus section of Hampton, Virginia. In 1908, our son Emily was born but died within a year from pneumonia. 6 years later, my wife and I divorced. I moved to Newark, New Jersey in 1915, where I took a job in a portrait studio, first as a darkroom assistant and then as a portraitist. I returned to Harlem the following year, just as large numbers of black immigrants and migrants were arriving to that part of the city. I am known for my pictures that capture the lives of African Americans in New York City, New York. I had a gift for capturing the most influential individuals and riveting artistic movements of the era. I shared the aspirations and racial pride of the black middle class and leading lights of the Harlem Renaissance. My photographs also captured the images of the new Negro success through World War I. In 1918, I married Ganella Greenlee, and the photo studio I shared with my wife began to boom during World War I, with many of my portraits demanding critical attention. During the height of my popularity, my daughter Rachel died at the age of 19 from appendicitis. I died in Washington, D.C. on May 15, 1983. I am known as one of the most successful photographers of my time. 10 years after my death, the National Portrait Gallery exhibited my work as a posthumous tribute. I am James Vanderzee.
Good evening. My name is Elliot Williams, and tonight I'll be presenting Duke Ellington. Edward Kennedy was Duke Ellington's real name. Duke Ellington was an American composer, pianist, and leader of a jazz orchestra. He led his orchestra from 1923 until his death. His career spanned more than 6 decades. He was born in Washington, D.C. on April 29, 1899, and died on May 24, 1974, in New York, New York. Some of his famous songs include It Don't Mean a Thing and Take the A Train. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. It don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is sing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you got. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. It don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is sing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you got. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. Do-ah, 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 do-ah.
I'm Barack Obama, the first black president of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I stand on the shore of Douglas water. I'm Barack Obama.
Greetings, I am Nicole Jackson, the president of the Hampton chapter of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. I hope you enjoyed our 2022 award-winning Black to the Future, a Virtual Living Black Wax Museum. Your dedication to our programming speaks to the heart of our true existence. Jack and Jill of America Incorporated is a membership organization of mothers with children ages 2 through 19 dedicated to nurturing future African American leaders by strengthening children through leadership development, volunteer service, philanthropic giving, and civic duty. Again, we simply can't thank you enough for your contribution to keeping Black excellence and art alive.